Hi all, this is Allmighty and welcome to this video. In this video I decided to feature another game from the Gashimov Memorial, also from round 5 because it's a game with a decisive result. A game between David Navara and the guy who ruined the Gashimov Memorial. And why did he do it? Well, at some point I guess all of the people just wanted to see all draws, all 9 rounds in the Gashimov Memorial, but then Veselin Topalov happened and he said okay, no more draws, and in round 4 he managed to win the game against Shakhriyar Mamedyarov. And once again he is in a decisive game, so he wanted to add some spice to the Gashimov Memorial, and let's just see what happened also in this game. We have Navara with white pieces, Topalov with black, and we have knight to f3 and d5. And after a couple of moves, so g3 c6, okay, going a little bit passive in the beginning, but in a couple of moves we see that Navara goes for this quick kingside castle with a very defensive setup, and having this fianchetto bishop on g2. After this castle we see bishop to g4, going for something called a Yugoslav attack, and a Yugoslav variation and the King's Indian attack. Not an opening that you see that often, but immediately black goes for bishop to g4, essentially attacking this knight, even though I don't think at any point you would like to capture this knight with the bishop, leaving the white with the bishop pair. Now we have d3, just preparing either c4 or preparing after that knight from b to d2 and e4 to strike in the center. We have knight from b to d7, and after c4, so striking from c4, we have d captures, and e5. So Topalov decides that he wants to be the one who will occupy a little bit more space in the center in the moment, because if Navara goes with e4, then there is this d4 hole in white center, and probably you don't want to do it like right away in the beginning of the game. So we have queen to c2, and after h6, so stopping bishop to g5, we have rook to d1, so occupying the open d file. Queen to c7 is played because if you don't play it, for example, something like this, knight to e5 wins a pawn. This knight is pinned. So queen to c7, and after this we have knight to c3. And now Topalov goes bishop to e6. As I said, don't want to give the bishop for this knight. This bishop isn't doing much on g4, so since the knight came on c3, this pawn isn't defended anymore. Topalov decided to pull the bishop back with tempo, and now b3 is played. Bishop to c5, which allows knight to a4 attacking the bishop. Bishop goes back to e7, and now knight to h4, preparing knight to f5. So jump and attack this bishop and this pawn. g6 stopping it, and now h3, not allowing any knight to g4 ideas, and attacking the knight there. And now king to f8. So Topalov had an option. Do you want to go queenside castle, or do you want a kingside castle? But in a sense, you cannot go kingside castle right away because bishop captures on h6, and this is with a tempo, you lose a pawn. So there is actually another way that Topalov choose, and it's kind of a funny way, a bit longer way, but in a sense, Navara didn't actually do anything to gain some advantage when Topalov went on this king walk to this h7 square. We have bishop to b2, so Topalov is going on the king side, so nice to have bishop on this long diagonal, and now rook to e8, so improving the position of the rook, and now e4. So the idea behind e4 is actually to jump knight on f5. I'll just show you quickly. So if here king to g7, for example, you have this knight to f5, and after g captures on f5, pawn captures on f5, this bishop doesn't have a place to go to. So now you have to capture this pawn or this pawn, and in the end, the black king is open up here on g7. And now the knight comes with a check. So here, instead of that, king to g8 was played. But I mean, knight to f5 is still a threat. If pawn captures, bishop still doesn't have a place to go to. But first we saw rook from a to c1, and now king to h7. So don't want to go on this diagonal where the bishop is, and also don't want to allow knight to f5 with the tempo. Knight to f5 nevertheless, and now bishop to f8, just defending the dark square bishop. Knight goes back to e3. And now knight to b6, going for this exchange, and Navara now decides to play queen to c3. Kind of disregards this knight and goes for other ideas, like capturing this central pawn. A knight captures on a4 and queen captures on e5. So you cannot capture the bishop now because the queen is hanging. So you have to do something about it. Bishop to d6 is played, blocking the queen exchange. And now, yeah, if you, for example, play queen to d6, then black can exchange and pick up the nice bishop on b2. You can capture on f6, which Navara did, or if you capture with this bishop with the rook, then also knight captures on b2. So here we saw queen to f6. Now queen to g7 is a threat of checkmate. Knight to b2 needs to be played. Queen captures on b2, and after that queen to e7. Now he's threatening queen to a3, so queen to c3 is played, but bishop to b4. Queen to e5, and now queen to g5, wanting to exchange the queens. But Navara decides not to. He wants to stay on this long diagonal, messing with the dark squares. With the dark squares of black, because yeah, essentially his bishop is on this diagonal, doesn't have it here, and the king is kind of open on the dark squares. Now what Topalov needs to do in order to win this game, or at least get a better game. In this situation, it is pretty much everything is equal, but one important difference is that black has a bishop pair, while white, I mean, he is in okay position, black is a pawn down, but there is still this bishop pair. So in order to go for a better game, Topalov decides to exchange the pieces and go into the endgame with a bishop pair. Rook to d8, and now we saw a3 attacking this bishop, but Topalov exchanged one pair of rooks. Rook captures, and now bishop to c5. Twice attacking on e3, so knight has to move. Knight to f1. Now exchange the other pair of rooks. Now h4 is played, attacking the queen. Queen to e7, and rook to d8, queen to d8. The other pair of rook is exchanged. And now b4. We see b4 attacking this bishop. If bishop goes back, then c5 would be a very good move. But there is this queen to d4. So attacking the queen, and if you exchange queens, then you have a clean bishop pair endgame, which would be a much better for black, because there are a lot of pawns which the bishops can capture. So queen to c2 avoiding this, and now bishop has to go somewhere. Bishop to e7 and c5 just guarding, not allowing capturing on c4. But a5 is played now, undermining the pawn chain on the queen side. Pawn captures on a5 and bishop captures on c5. And already now we see that black is in a very good position, threatening something on f2. Yeah, he will probably go for these pawns as well, so you need to do something about it. First a4, moving the pawn out of the way, and now king to g7, improving the position of the king. Knight to h2, and now bishop to b3. Now the threat is, after knight move to h2, if you capture the bishop, queen to f2 captures, king to h1, and queen to g1 is checkmate. So you cannot capture the bishop. Queen to e2 is played. But now queen to a4 captures, and this pawn is attacked as well. So we have knight to f3 first, and if you capture right away on a5, there is this queen to b2 check, and the bishop on b3 will be lost. So you cannot do it right away. So queen to a1 check first, bishop to f1, and now queen to c3, still guarding the bishops. King to g2, and now bishop to a4. Once again, cannot capture the pawn because queen to b2 is a threat. We have queen to c4, offer the exchange of queens, and Topalov gladly accepts. Queen captures and bishop captures, and after this, bishop to c2. Going for this pawn, we see knight to d2, and now bishop to b4, forcing the exchange in the end, because now this knight is attacked, and if you don't do it, yeah, if you move it somewhere else, this pawn will fall. So yeah, Navara goes for bishop to b3. Yeah, if bishop captures on d2, then bishop will capture on c2, and it will simply go into the opposite color bishop endgame, and this is a drawish endgame. So here bishop to b3 was played, knight to b3, but now this knight is bound to keep an eye on this pawn in order to just have it in the game, because otherwise it won't be a good game here for Navara, having these two connected passed pawns on the queen side far away from the king. It is a winning endgame for black. But we have c5 and the idea c4, moving the knight away so that you can capture on a5. We have king to f3, c4, and now knight to d4. Bishop captures on a5, and now knight to b5, threatening knight to d6, but c3 is played. Knight has to go back on d4 and b5 now. If you capture on the b5 pawn, then c2 and c1 is fairly easy, promoting to a queen. So king has to come closer, but now b4. And now if you would go with a king to d3, then you would lose immediately, because bishop to b6. And now if you move the knight somewhere, then bishop f2 and gobbling up these pawns. White cannot stop this. So here f4 was played, but bishop to b6 nevertheless, attacking the knight. Knight has to go to b3, and now h5. And in this position, actually, Navara resigned the game. The reason is when you move the king, for example, closer to the queen side, the bishop to f2 is imminent, and here Topalov will just take all of these pawns. So you have to keep an eye on these pawns, and also this knight has to be here in order to just also keep an eye on the pawns. What will black do if white doesn't essentially do anything? He will just come closer with the king, come here, so some kind of a path like this, and in the end, with the help of the king and the bishop, one of these pawns will be promoted. One will be captured probably by the knight, but in the end, you cannot escape the harsh reality of having just having these pawns on the dark squares when there is a dark square bishop, and because all of that, Navara just decided to resign the game. So Topalov retains the lead. He is now with the 3.5 points out of 5 rounds. So very good results. So four rounds to go. Behind him, the only guy with another win in the tournament is Magnus Carlsen. So definitely still a lot of things will happen in this tournament. And this is pretty much it for this video. I would like to thank you for watching it, and I will see you next time.